Hi, Simon here, GM8NYB. This is the CR100 here I've been working on, and got around to doing a little bit more work to it. Now most of it's done. I just need to go through the alignment, the IF spinner line, the IF stages. The next one was, according to the manual, is the oscillator stages. Now on the higher bands, 4, 5 and 6, the tuning scale was fairly accurate. It was maybe a couple of kilohertz off, and I really don't think I'm going to get it much closer. That said, what I read about is these tuning scales were made to fit each individual CR100. They aligned the end, the high and low frequencies on each band, and then used a crystal marker to mark the individual frequencies. I quite like the tuning scale on this, the drum. It's the original, and to print a new one off, it's going to be very white. I could do that, I suppose. What I'm going to do is try one of the lower ranges first, range 1. I had a quick check of it now, and I see it's not. The lower end is 60 kilohertz, and the higher end is 160, and they're knocked on. It's something like 55 or something up to 155 or something like that. Anyway, so I'm gonna have a go at tuning, get that one tuned up as close to the instructions in the book as possible. Of course, they've used the equipment of the day, so I'm going to use it's a bit more modern equipment, but I think I'll get there in the end. So I'll give that one a go first. Now the higher bands 4, 5 and 6, they didn't have trimmer capacitors on the coils. They used, let me just go down here. You can see the coil pack here. This is the oscillator coils. This is 1, 2, 3 bands. So let me see in there. Print out with something. So they have the slug here, which is the core, and at the bottom you've got a trimmer capacitor. So the trimmer's done for the high end of the scale, the higher frequencies, and they use the slug to tune up the lower end, basically a span and a 0, which you can do on 1, 2 and 3. Now when you get to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, they didn't have trimmers for the high end. They've used select on test capacitors. Now that's a lot of work to try and keep swapping capacitors out till you get the right value. I'm hoping, and I'll probably leave those. I'm quite happy with the tuning scale, even if it's slightly off, than trying to start unsoldering capacitors and soldering little values on to get it right. What I will do, coming to the mixer and the HF coils, they're adjustable, so I might just leave the tuning scale as it is for those higher bands 4, 5 and 6, and see if I can peak up the coils on the HF side of it. Might not be necessary. I might do make it worse, but because there's a lot of capacitors have been changed, cables have been changed, and insulation on the cables, so the internal capacities of all the connections will have changed. I assume I need to do it. Right, so we'll start with band 1, which is 60 kilohertz to 160. And going through the book here, quick read of it. The oscillator circuit is to be adjusted on all bands that oscillate at frequencies greater than the signal frequency, obviously. And now these equipment required is a calibrated signal generator, which an output meter, headphones. I'm going to use a ganging tool. My ganging tool, I made it here. Basically, it's a piece of tube here from a telescopic aerial. I'll squash the end down, and this is a 6BA, and that slides there, so I can put that on the tuning coil, hold it while I tighten the nut. And then for doing the capacitor, I've got a twiddling stick thing here, a proper pot adjuster. See how that goes. Right, here I've got my signal generator. The lead's quite short, it's sort of squashed there, but you can see it. So I've got a sine wave, 60 kilohertz, 0.06 megahertz on the scale, and an amplitude of 0.006. So they said 50 microvolts, but I just had a quick go, and I think you get a better signal, easier to look at it at 60 microvolts going in. So that is on my channel 1. That's applied to the mixer valve. I've got it on here, the grid. It looks a bit of a rat's nest here, but I've got my signal coming in on here through a capacitor to stop any loading on it. That's just the earth part of it there. And I've got a scope, so I've got my scope up there. It's not showing much at the moment, just to monitor it. And of course the scale is on. I'll tilt the camera and see it better, because the receiver's on the side, by the way, to get in access to it. So I tilt that like that. I've not got that now set to 60, and we'll see what happens. So the output is, I've got it on the speaker. Now they use an output meter, which I don't have, so I've used my Fluke here on the milliamp range AC, and I've got it in series with the loudspeaker. So I'm going to measure the current as an output meter. So let's see how we progress. Right, it's switched on, and setting it to CW, now with the ABC off, and said adjust the volume. Now I'm getting 1 point. I've got 60 kilohertz going in, 60 on that. But I'm gonna, right, there's peaking up there. As you can see, it's off the 60 kilohertz mark. So I'm going to do is put that back to 60 kilohertz. And that's where I should be picking that tone up. So it means I'm going to adjust the slug on here. Not easy to see. There's my, so I'm going to get that on the slug there. Put that on, loosen the lock nut, slide it back. Now then, it was high in frequency, so I want to lower the frequency. I'm going to go anti-clockwise, I think. It's coming in now. You can adjust the gain. Right, although you're not seeing it, if I look at the, lower the volume, otherwise you get all the dogs barking. Now then, there's the meter. As I adjust this, looking for the highest peak there. There we go. It's not going to be too accurate, so hold it there. Hard to do. Oops. Get the highest peak there. Get that back on to tighten it. Just, that's it. Oops. As you adjust it, just move. Try and, there you go. As I tighten the nut, I'm adjusting the shaft of the ganging tool. That's getting tight. As I tighten up, it's moving the slug. So, oops. Okay. Right, that's the 60 kilohertz. Okay, that's on 60 kilohertz. Spin this down now to 160. Right, I'm at 160 there. Output meter. Oh, sorry, the output on this 160. No sound there, so I'm just going to go up slowly, see where it actually is. Looks to be around about 158, so go back to 160. This time, the high frequency end, readjust the trimmer capacitor, which is this one here. So hopefully we'll peak up. Small movement. It's a compression trimmer, so there's the highest I've got there. Probably not far off it. Probably the thickness of the pointer. Right, I've just moved the tuning dial a bit. It's the thickness of the pointer. Let's go that way again. As you can see, 160. So let's check our 60 again. So spin that. That's back to 60. So that focuses in there. Take this down. Coming in now. That's just off the 60 mark. Need to adjust the slug again. In fact, I just tightened it up a bit more. I get about 10 milliamps out of there. It's just a reference, it's not proving anything. If it was a watt meter, it does say in the book what wattage they were looking for, but I'm just using this as a reference for a peak. Right, there's our 60, nice signal coming out. 60 and 160. I'm going to check the midway. I've got a feeling it's not going to be accurate. As the original receivers, as I said before, they just got the ends right and then marked the frequencies as they found them. But we'll see. I'll be really lucky if I put it in the middle, say 100 kilocycles. We shall see if it oscillates 100 kilocycles. So let's tune this to 100 kilocycles. That's about there, and I'm going to start increasing the frequency. Right, that's at 100 on the move that on. So that's peaking there, round about just below the 100, and I've got 100 on the yeah, it's 100 there. I've got 100 dialed up on the signal generator, and it's not too bad. Not bad, eh? Not too bad. Slightly off. Just check the 160 again. Of course, I don't want to tune up on the wrong side. Let's go on the higher side. So let's move off. Right, okay. 160. Don't think we're going to get much closer than that. Let's turn the volume down. Turn the HD off. Right. I'm happy the way that went there. The 160 and the 60 kilohertz band edges came in quite nicely. The 100 kilohertz, not quite the middle. So 90 was probably about the middle, but the 100 was close within the thickness of the pointer. Right, that's as far as I go in at the moment in this video. What I will do now, because I've got it set up for tune up the oscillator coils, I shall continue with the other ones, not all of them. So coil for band 1, range 1, coil for range 1 is the capacitor at the high frequency, the slug at the low frequency, 2 and 3. Now when you get to 4, 5 and 6, we're doing high frequency ends, it means swapping. There's got 1 PF capacitor there, looks like another 1 PF, so they've got 2 PF capacitors in parallel. I'm not sure what these values are, but to get whole pile of capacitors and keep swapping them over to try and get on is a big job. And if I remember rightly, I was quite happy with the actual accuracy. What I might do on these frequencies, as I said before, I'll probably pick up the antenna, the HF and the oscillator coils for those bands. Right, that's it for now. I will continue with these 3. I'll give them a check, I think, and then I'll do another video doing these, setting it up or tuning up the aerial side and the HF side. Well, thank you for watching. Hope that was of interest, and see you next time. Bye.